What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mighty Mouse here, back with another video. Today we're going to be going over the live stream that we saw a few hours ago. I was at work when it launched, but I went over the cliff notes real quick, kind of sped through it. I'm going to give you my opinion on some of the things. Starting with the Huntress, obviously, and classes in general. I was a little surprised that we only got the Huntress. That seems like a missed opportunity there. But the Huntress, to me, as a warrior player, makes me feel like my main class is a dumpster fire. Like, just watching the different interactions between mechanics and how well thought out it was, and the ascendancies, like, crazy that you get a third ring and you get an inherent bonus of your rings and amulets. So ingenuity, if that wasn't enough, just alone having a third ring with ingenuity, so then you're getting another 80% of another ring, so you can fix all of your resistances with one ring, and then you can solve all of your mana problems with one ring and get damage on the other. Or you can just min-max to the utmost potential by getting two amethyst rings that have one high resistance roll on it and 3 damage modifiers and dex and int, and then you get one like prismatic ring or a breach ring that has chaos res on the bottom, 3 damage modifiers, and then dex and int. Like, you can just take these big chunks instead of having to, like, okay, I need all res is a must on both of my rings, and then I need lightning resistance on this one, and the implicit has to be this because there's only X amount of rings on the market that have these stats. It just opens up a lot, and then you get more bonuses from your rings on top of it with the ascendancy. Like, that's crazy to me. The character in general, pretty well thought out. Lots of like tornado nature stuff. The ability to literally basically hex a monster, a rare monster that could, in some of these juiced maps, potentially have 11 different modifiers on them, right? And that's your companion now, and it just follows you around and just wreaks havoc. Like, I could not imagine that. Like, that to me is crazy. But just the overall feel of the class, the look of the class, looks like it was really well thought out. To me, it is the equivalent of the Spiritborn for Diablo 4. Like, once released with the new ascendancies, like just reading the ascendancies for them, the points that you put into, they're just so unique. They're different from everything else, and they're like all bonuses, right? They're all basically multipliers of other things, which some of the classes ascendancies, like for example the warrior, I think the titan is pretty solid, but the warbringer, it, like, some of the mechanics don't even work. Like the break armor below 0 does literally nothing in the end game. Like, early it does when enemies are low armor, and you have a weak weapon, it's about a 40% damage multiplier, but after that it's like equivalent to under 5%. So you spend 4 ascendancy points to get up to it to get a 5% incremental damage bonus. But everything about the Huntress looks good, and the real takeaway from that, I believe, is the rings. Everyone's going to be using that. I couldn't see a scenario where I wouldn't be taking that and the inherent bonus from equipped rings. As for the ascendancies, the witch ascendancy looks dope. The ability to basically summon these specters, which are like replicas of monster types that you've killed. So you could amass an army of unique utility role players, kind of like, the 90s Bulls. You got your Scottie Pippen, you're kind of well-rounded, does everything. Then you got your Dennis Rodman, to me would be like an antlion charger, right? It just rolls in, body blocking stuff and wreaking havoc. And you can kind of facilitate your team and mix and match to your desired effect, which to me is just awesome. The warrior ascendancy, like, cool, you get to customize your chest piece, but you have to wear a regular white chest piece. And then they release a unique chest piece that gives you all three elemental herald skills at no spirit cost. And then the monsters in your presence have no elemental resistances, and you get 20 all res from it. But you can't use that on the blacksmith ascendancy because you have to wear a white armor. And they didn't even go over like any of the other actual ascendancy things. I mean, what, you can imbue your weapon with some fire, and you can summon a mace that follows you around. Like, okay, I don't know. That just seemed kind of lackluster to me. The mercenary one looked, it was all right. It's kind of like having a rain of arrows come down, and you're kind of like commanding these things you can't see. They're like, they're there, but they're not there. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's kind of what I expected, so, like a call attacks down type of character. I kind of expected them to have a companion skill, being as it looked like they were kind of an officer and they were like commanding an army. And I figured they would have like summon 3 mercenaries, right? And one has a crossbow, and they're just pelting stuff, and the other one summons like the ballista totems, kind of like Call of the Ancients. Like, I figured that was going to be like a Call of the Ancients-esque ascendancy, where you were going to summon these other replicas of like people in your army, in your battalion or whatever, and they were going to go forward. But I mean, it's a little different than that, so, and that's fine. It just didn't feel all that special to me. And those are kind of the cliff notes for the ascendancies. I expected the blacksmith to have like something super unique, like an extra 20% quality on their weapon, or an extra 20% quality on their armor or their shield or something, considering the huntress ascendancy gets increased amount of rings and they get an increase of the modifiers on their equipped rings and amulets. Like, that's insanely powerful. Like, you could do so much with just that alone. If you think about getting rings like, say, Venter's Gamble, and you wear 3 of those that give you, basically cover your resistances, give you spirit, and then you wear an amulet that gives you spirit, like spirit on spirit, and you can make like a crazy minion build with it, because you can just amass all this spirit, because you get all the increase. So like, you get 60 on your amulet and 15 implicit, so you're at like 80 spirit there. Then you get 20 Venter's Gamble with like an 80% increase, so you're getting another like 15% there, and like another 15 spirit like per ring there. And then you get an increase of those bonuses. So, like, you can do some nasty stat stacking builds too, I can imagine, with Astramentus and like these breach rings with crazy stats on the bottom of them. I can imagine that's going to be the closest thing to the stat stacking mercenary that there is. I'm surprised there were no new weapon sets other than the spear. Like, you released a blacksmithing warrior class that had all these subtle hints with like axes and swords in the background, and we didn't get axes or swords. We got a new unique showcase that allows you to dual wield two-handed axes and swords, and they said nothing about that. Maybe in the Q&A they said something about it, and they just didn't I don't know, they didn't want to highlight it in the video. That seems like a pretty big thing to not talk about, unless they want it to be a surprise, like, oh, and more, and you're going to be surprised when it comes out. Like, they want to drop a bombshell on you. I'm cautiously optimistic that that is going to be what's going on. And maybe they throw another class out there, which would also be great. Other than that, like, the map changes, the Rogue Exiles is cool. The different new unique endgame maps with bosses. I can tell you firsthand, being a council player, that mirror encounter, that mirror map, where you get like the fragmented piece of a mirror, if that map is instilled, it 100% is going to be unplayable on console. Like, you see this map alone that I'm running, it's going black. It's like you can't see the mobs, you can't see the AoE on the ground. Now there is no ground, right? And it's just like creating terrain out of thin air, and the frame drop on that map on console is going to be crazy. I can already see it, especially with the instillment, because if there's like any terrain, like a bridge, right? If there's a bridge and you see those ash in the fog, it's like infinitely going down, and that just chews your GPU. It's like a certain texture that your GPU just does not like. I think if they just took that out entirely, just took the little like snowflake looking ash, threw that to the wayside, that would be 100% better. Just add a little fog. That's it. Again, the changes to the mapping system, the towers is kind of cool. I mean, you can juice a little bit more. I'm not sure if I like that they cut the towers by a third but increased your juicing potential, because now you're kind of limited on what you can do, even though, like they said, you can put in like multiple tablets if you do a certain number of modifiers, which is cool. But if you it's nice to be able to chain these towers, right? So you start in one area and full clear it and clear all the maps, and then you put a breach tablet in, and the maps on your way to your next area become breaches, and you navigate that, and then you get to an area, and you can put in less and less numbered, like makes 5 maps breaches, because you have all of them done already, and the rest of them that are left are already breaches. And then you can put precursor tablets or map boss tablets so that you get them irradiated and corrupted. There were things that you could do with the current tower system that I enjoyed. I guess we'll see how it goes. It'll kind of make you have to adapt, and it'll cut down on some of the quantity rarity stacking, I think. Maybe I don't know. You won't get as many maps. You'll get probably juicier maps, but you'll get fewer juicy maps. The new skill gems are cool. The mount, basically a mount, you get a Roa that you can like be in combat, which I think again puts melee at a complete disadvantage, because getting knocked off of it, they basically said, instantly kills you, and you're not able to fire shots as a melee class while you're on it. So that's just another thing, like, warrior, eat shit, we don't care about you. And again, I totally expected like some complete reworks of the passive and ascendancy trees for the warrior ascendancies. And with the new one, I expected them to kind of knock it out of the park, and it just was not that. Like, I don't know. The chest armor thing still just throws me for a loop, but the support gems, some of them look cool. But the one, I can't remember what it was called, but they're like, yeah, that's an actual word. I paused that video and read it, and it is the most conditional thing on the planet to get a small, minute damage buff. The monster has to be heavy stunned whilst it is ignited and has fully broken armor to be permanently intimidated, which is a 10% damage buff. So as opposed to getting a skill gem that adds 40% increased damage, 40% more damage, multiplicative damage, you put that in, And now you have to like string together all of these things to make sure that they're ignited, their armor's fully broken, and they're primed for heavy stun to be able to do this. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I think that's like a super conditional support gem, and I'm not... It's like literally like a support class gem. Like, okay, I want them to be intimidated so they take more damage. I'm assuming from everybody, not just from you. But we'll see how that goes. The other ones are... I don't know, they didn't showcase a whole lot. So it's like you don't really know what to expect. But I guess we'll see when the full patch notes drop. Because to me it just seemed kind of meh in a way. And I'm usually super optimistic. I mean, but there are 100 of them, right? 100 plus. So I guess we'll see. There's bound to be some that are like revolutionary and change the game. The unique items being more geared towards end game, I think is huge. Because right now you're like, okay, I found this item. It has 14 energy shield on it. So now I have to incorporate this into my build, I have to solve all these mathematical equations on my gear to be able to get enough energy shield to survive a single hit from any pinnacle content. Because even, let's say it's a pair of gloves, right? And you're using these gloves and they have 14 or 9, 10 energy shield on them. It doesn't sound like you're missing a lot when you think about, okay, well, a decent pair of gloves with like attack modifiers on them, you're not going to have that much energy shield. What are you going to have if they're straight ES? Like you can get maybe 140 if you get a good roll. Well, but that 140, when you factor in your passive tree and all your jewels and everything, can turn into like 400 energy shield. So it's like tripling it. But triple 3x of 10 is 30. Like, it's not a lot. So you really do have to, and that's one cool thing about the uniques, right? Is it creates a solution to one problem, but adds complexity to where you have to solve an additional problem in order to find a solution for the original problem. So it's just like it creates a puzzle, which is interesting to say the least, but I would like it to be interesting in a way that isn't both detrimental to X and also detrimental to my survivability, because it just basically has bullshit stats on it but allows you to do this. But that's... the uniques look solid, at least. Like the shield is pretty cool. As a Warbringer, you already kind of go into that block chance style of play, and you can pick up 2 passives that gives you 1% damage per 1% block chance, and now you can get 1% fire damage per 1% block chance. So you have a way to stack both physical, regular damage, and fire damage. And I'm assuming the shield will, when it gives you the fire damage, it's going to be off of the already increased damage based on your block chance from those nodes. So, but we'll see. Other than that, I was really hoping that with the increase in support gems, there would be increase to like multiple skill gems. Not just like universally useful ones, but like I said, like axes, swords, things of that nature, daggers even, to make like the rogue, or I mean the ranger into like a melee rogue-esque class. Some to give you a little bit of a different flavor, so to speak. But again, we'll see. It's going to be pretty wild. I think the map changes are very good. The changes to the essences, the ability to corrupt them and do all that, it's interesting for sure. The other things are new bosses, new mechanics to learn, the ability to respawn in your maps. But I mean, obviously, once you're at tier 15, you're basically doing rare maps anyways, so you're not really going to get those respawn attempts. At least from what I saw, it looked as if you were. I couldn't exactly read it with it zoomed in. It was kind of pixelated, but I have to assume that it's 6 chances, and then once you go above 2 modifiers, it's like 4 chances, and you go up above 4 modifiers, it's like 3 chances or 2 chances, and then once you hit 6 all-out modifiers, it's like 1 or 2 chances. I'm assuming that if you're running maps with corrupted that have a list of modifiers like this, you get 1 shot, which is funny because it's like to sustain maps, and it gives you the ability to clear the map if you die, because death is the reason people aren't sustaining maps. But if you put in a map that has a bunch of modifiers on it, the odds of you dying increase, but your ability to respawn decreases. I would almost like it to be kind of the inverse of that. Like if you're running a white map and you die. I mean, I guess obviously early, like tiers 1 through 10, I think you should automatically get six shots. And then tiers 10 through 13, 4 shots. And then tier 15, you get 1 respawn. So at least if you get in a sticky situation, you can go back in, kind of like collect yourself, go in and figure it out. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. I feel like I'm saying that a lot because they didn't give a whole bunch of detail, right? They're still kind of hiding behind this veil of mystery. I would like to see some changes, some balance changes, see what they're doing in that realm. I'm curious when the patch notes come out what that's going to entail, because again, the passive tree, it's a ton of like take 5% less attack speed for 40% increased damage, but you get so much increased damage by the time you're level 90 that the 40% ends up being like a difference of, I don't know, 5 to 7% increased damage, but losing 5% multiplicative attack speed is a difference of like 25% DPS. So you're actually, by taking that node, though it sounds like a net positive, it's almost guaranteed to be a negative, because your slam skills are already so slow. The attack speed is so slow that anything you do to decrease it is like completely nullifying any increased damage that you get. Like, just equip a two-handed mace with 600 damage, then equip a two-handed mace with 400 damage that has 28% attack speed on it. It's like a crazy difference. The attack speed is so much more important than the actual damage on the weapon once you get up above like the 400 or 500. Because I mean, I have a hammer with like 800 DPS and no attack speed on it, and then you find one and you try it out and you look at your stat sheet and it's like you increase your damage by 2k DPS by dropping 300 physical damage and gaining 30% increased attack speed. But, and it's nodes like that everywhere, right? Like increased damage, but you have 5% less maximum life. So now you have 5% less maximum life. You have 5% less attack speed. And it's like, there's all these inherent negatives to come with the positives that you gain on the warrior strength side of the passive tree that I just don't see in the other quadrants. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I think that needs to be their main focus when it comes to balance, is the actual nodes and seeing what is negatively impacting the end game and what they can do to fix that. and also reworking slam skills to make it to where you can actually decrease the because it says like adds 1.5 seconds to the attack. So no matter how much attack speed you have, that attack is always going to take at least 1.5 seconds or zero point 0.5 seconds. You can't just like, and casters, I get accuracy. You either, as a warrior using slam skills, you either take the node to where your hits can't be evaded, so you don't have to worry about accuracy, but you can't crit, or you stack crit and you have to stack accuracy because your slam skills, like Sunder's missing 40% of the time. Like, what do? Because you can't stack dex. If you want to use Giant's Blood, you have to put like literally every passive point you have into strength, because you have to hit like 700 strength. Well, not quite. You got to hit like 640. But still, that's basically 700 just to equip the two-handed mace. So now you have to worry about, where am I going to get my mana pool? Where am I going to get my accuracy from to land the hits? Like, there's just all these things that go into it that you just don't really see that negative drawback in order to get the power creep that the other classes have. It's like equip this, and you delete the screen. Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, delete screen. Like, it just is what it is. But I'm done rambling. I was trying to make this a whole lot more positive. I'd like to end at least on a positive note. The Huntress looks cool. The in-game map changes look pretty cool. The towers I'm undecided on, but I think it's going to be a net positive. It's going to make you spend a lot less time trying to map through to these towers to ensure that you juice maps to their maximum potential. The support gems, I can't wait to see what else they have. Skill gems, same thing. I'm hoping for way more. And I guess we'll see what changes they make to balance. And I can only guess, with their implementing these 100 plus more geared toward end-game uniques, that they're aware of the balance state of the game, and they're going to be working on that. But with that, I bid you adieu. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Stay blessed. You are enough. And as always, stay mouthy. We'll see you.